Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We have folks trickling in, so we'll give everyone a minute to join. Welcome to the Problem Solving for Moving Dual Enrollment Online webinar series. I believe this is our 10th webinar in this webinar series, so it is exciting to kind of see you all in this space again. And we will get started in just 1 minute. All right. So again, welcome to the Problem Solving Moving Dual Enrollment Online webinar series hosted by Career Ladders Project. If you could go to the next slide. So our agenda for today, we are going to start and get into it because we have a student joining us, we have some instructional faculty joining us, and we want to make sure that we are providing them their time, and also some have to hop off early. So we're going to just get right into it. So we're going to start off with some welcome and some updates, really quick updates. Today's webinar is actually going to be focused on the California Cloud Computing Workforce. It is a consortia of colleges, community colleges, and high school partners and workforce partners that have come together to provide a cloud computing pathway for students. And we're going to get into more of the details of that. And the college that we're featuring is El Camino College, and their partnering district, high school district, Centinela Valley Unified High School District. And they're going to talk a little bit about how they were able to partner together to provide this cloud computing pathway for students. We're also going to hear from a student, Isabel, Wagenburg, and she is only going to be able to join for 5 minutes because she's in a class, so she's going to hop out of her class and join us, so you'll be able to hear from her soon. And then we'll have some closing and some future webinar updates. So again, really quickly, the updates, as you all know, we've had many of these, so our past webinars can be found on the Career Ladders Project website. We have an upcoming webinar next month, and it's going to be focused on adult dual enrollment. So please keep your eye out for that as the announcement goes out. Some really interesting work around that. We're going to be featuring some cool colleges. And of course, we have on our website the resources for moving to an electronic form, all the Chancellor's office updates, and other resources on there that you will be able to access from our previous webinars, including past presentations and other resources. Next slide. So I am Sherry Shojai. I'm a director with Career Ladders Project, and working in the background doing all our tech stuff is Adair Flores, and Naomi Castro is in the chat and monitoring the questions and providing any updates around resources. As you all know, as we have done previously with the chat, please feel free to use it if you have any questions for the folks that are presenting. You can type in your questions and say directed towards the college or the person that you want to direct it towards. For example, El Camino College, how did you, Centinela Valley, how did you? And then if you have any tech issues, please let us know by putting tech, and then Adair can reach out and support you through that. All right, so let's get into it. So the California Cloud Workforce, it is a consortia and a project under the Strong Workforce Program that CLP has actually been a part of. I've been part of this workforce program for the past few years, developing the cloud computing pathway for 19 colleges and several high school partners, and working with industry partners to be able to make those connections for students. But before we get into kind of what the consortia is and what that project really has looked like, we want to just provide a quick overview of what cloud computing is. So cloud computing really provides a simple way to access servers and storage databases using a broad set of application services over the internet. So pretty much if you go to the next slide, it's a visual representation of it. It's taking these physical servers in these physical rooms that we used to have with a bunch of servers where people would have to make sure that they were kept cool and they were kept, safe and secure and all that. It's taking that and moving everything into these internet servers. This allows companies, this allows organizations, this allows small businesses to be more nimble in terms of their internet server usage. So for example, and I like to use this example because it's so tangible, but Ticketmaster, they could be using cloud computing services, and they know that Beyonce is going to come into town. So when Beyonce comes into town, their computing service needs to increase for just that specific amount of time. So they're able to increase their usage on the cloud during that period of time. They're also able to gather data about who's on their website at that time. And then when Beyonce leaves town and they don't have as much traffic on their website, they're able to actually decrease their storage units. So it allows folks to be more, companies, organizations to be more nimble. We know the big kind of companies, tech companies that use cloud computing, including Netflix, Hulu, Yelp, Adobe, but a lot of nonprofits, small businesses, everything is kind of moving to the cloud, and we anticipate with COVID and with tech just speeding up that this is going.
I just was sitting here on this webinar on dual enrollment.
If you don't mind, just making sure that you're on mute, and then also making sure that your camera is off. So we have folks that need just ASL interpreters, so we want to make sure that their video is able to be accessed. Thank you. So that is kind of the overview of cloud computing. It really is providing the service of these internet servers instead of having these actual physical room with the servers. We're seeing a huge demand in this field. And again, with COVID happening and the kind of the digital skills being ramped up in a way that we anticipated happening, but with COVID, it's being exacerbated. These skills are going to be so needed all across the board. So we see that there's 83 job postings that have some sort of cloud computing occupation attached to it. 25% of those job postings have actual cloud computing skills as a description as part of their occupation. And then amongst those, we have about 4,876 that have AWS as an actual skill set. When we say AWS, that stands for Amazon Web Services, and that's a platform that folks can use for cloud computing. There's also other services, including Microsoft Azure and the Google Cloud Computing Services. And we also know that LinkedIn has the number 2 skill that is most searched on LinkedIn is cloud computing skills. So that is kind of the overview of cloud computing, the demand for it. And now I want to pass it over to Coda Cole, and he is an instructional faculty at El Camino College and other college campuses, and he has been part of the Cloud Computing Workforce Project team. He has been really instrumental in driving a lot of this work and providing the cloud computing dual enrollment courses at several high schools. So I'm going to pass it over to Coda to talk a little bit about his experience as an instructional faculty in this role.
Thank you, Sherry, and thank you everybody for attending today. It's been quite a journey working with this project on cloud computing. We started at Santa Monica College and offering the core courses of cloud computing, but it quickly expanded to high schools. The demand was at the high school level, and we're getting huge demands from not just the high school. We have our college students that are interested in the classes too. On top of the high school students, we're finding a lot of professionals coming back to reinvent their skill sets or looking for new opportunities now. Since this is a regional project, there are many benefits to it. So I want to talk a little bit about the benefits of it being a regional project. The courses are the same across the colleges that are in the partnership. There's 19 community colleges that are in the regional project. And with that, all the colleges offers the same course. So if you have students, and again, because the demand is so great right now, all the courses might not be offered at every single college. Students can actually research, go on websites, everything is remote, and take courses where it's being offered. Just because we don't have enough faculty to deliver the content. And that's why I'm actually at several colleges now, just to get everybody on board, get students the opportunity to take these courses. But part of the regional project, we work on supplemental material for students. Supplemental material meaning we create work-based opportunities. I know in the classroom it's very difficult to create more opportunities like work-based or cover other skill sets like soft skills. So at the regional side, we create workshops for students that will cover how to prep their resume, because everything's going to happen extremely fast for these students. They're learning the skill sets at the same time, having to figure out, well, what soft skills do I need? How do I build my resumes? And there's certifications that are involved, industry certifications are involved. So putting on boot camps so that students can be prepared to take these certification exams. With our partnerships, we work directly with industry, and our industry also provides mock interviews. So if you're applying to AWS, what should you prepare for? How should you prepare for it? So we have industry partners that sit in with students and kind of prepare them through the interview process. So these are some of the benefits of being a regional project. We can support the high schools, the college with additional support. And I talked a little bit about students, the students that are interested. The students that we get are, of course, our college students. We're also finding out that a lot of graduates from college, from masters, they're coming back to reinvent their skill sets. Or even, I had a student in our first cohort. He had no technical background at all. You don't have to have any technical background. So he came in with no technical background, became very interested, started taking all the classes, and in a year was able to complete all the course offering to get the foundational skill sets, sign up for one of our internships that we offer through our regional partnerships. So he took the internship, sat in about, I think, 2-3 months. Internship was extended, got a job offer, and eventually, this is all within about 1.5 years, applied for a full-time position. And coming into this pathway with no skill sets at all. So he was working full-time actually at a coffee shop, working full-time to learning the skills to applying for a full-time position, making close to 6 figures right for that. And later on, you'll hear from one of our high school students. Her name is Isabel. She was in our second cohort. She took the class over the summer, became very interested, continue on taking all the classes as a high school student. And she started in her 10th grade year. Now she is a senior, but this past summer she signed up for one of our internships too. So she did her summer internship. The CEO, I spoke directly with him. He was very grateful for the skill set that she had. And this is a paid internship as a high school student. And now she's working in the fall too, because her internship was extended because of the skill set that she had. So we'll hear from her shortly. The classes is set up. The program itself, the certificate of accomplishment, is 4 classes. The 4 classes is your introduction to cloud computing. That is the foundational course. It provides you a great overview of all the services that are being used on the AWS platform. Of course, with these services, you're able to expand on and build upon it. And if the students are interested, they would continue to take 152, 154, and 156. Now, the intro to 152, 154, and 56 is 150. You have to take that intro course first, but if students are interested, they don't have to have any technical background. They don't have to have any prerequisite courses. They can sign up for that 150 course, because that 150 course is the prereq to taking all the classes in our certificate program.
Thank you so much, Coda. Yeah, thank you so much, Coda. I think Isabel is joining at 10:20. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. So, yeah, so in the meantime, if you don't mind going to the next slide, and when she joins, we can go ahead and just stop and hand it over to her. But I'm going to actually hand it over to Kim right now. Kim Irons is a K-12 pathway coordinator, and she is part of the Centinela Valley Union High School District, and she has been critical in providing services. Oh, we just had Isabel join. I'm sorry about that. So I'll just hand it over to Isabel if she feels okay to start before we get to Kim. So Isabel, thank you so much for joining. We are so excited to have you. We know that you are coming from another class and you just came to join us. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your class to join us. But we wanted to be able to hear from you and your experience about the cloud computing course, and then also your experience as being able to intern and using your cloud computing skills. So Isabel, if you don't mind taking over.
Hi, my name is Isabel. I'm a senior at Santa Monica High School. Right now I'm interning at a tech startup called Kokomo 24/7, which develops software for public safety. I found out about SMC's cloud computing program just from my high school's weekly emails, and my mom asked me if I would be interested in signing up because she knows that I like tech, and that's what I did.
Cool, thank you so much, Isabel. Can you talk a little bit about your experience in the dual enrollment program and then how it's benefited you in your internship?
Yeah, I really enjoyed my first class. It called Introduction to Cloud Computing. It was a hybrid class, so it was like partly online, and then on the week and every other weekend I would go to the class in person. And it was kind of a nice way to spend a part of my weekend and befriend people in the class who had similar interests to me. And because I found that first class really interesting, I started taking the rest of the classes where I learned about the cloud and just kind of how accessible it was.
Cool, and then do you mind sharing a little bit about your internship and how you were able to secure that internship, and also how you were able to use what you've learned in this program in your internship?
So Professor Cole told me about this presentation that Kokomo 24/7 was having, and Professor Cole was my professor for my first class, and I kept in touch with him, but he told me about this presentation for open internship positions at Kokomo 24/7, and at the end of the presentation, I sent in my resume, and they knew I had experience with AWS and also some other programming languages. And another thing that helped me was messaging the recruiters directly on LinkedIn so that they could notice me. And when I onboarded as an intern, I learned that all of their products are built on top of AWS. And while I haven't worked directly with the AWS side, I'm able to give suggestions here and there, but I mostly do coding and other tasks for them.
Thank you. Can you is there anything you would say to a high school student who is considering a cloud computing class or considering getting into this program?
This isn't like a regular class. It's very hands-on and you'll learn, and it's not just like a kiddie class either. Like you'll learn how to do real things that people do in their jobs. And it's also, it might feel tough at first, but that's something that just comes with learning any technology. So if you struggle a little bit at first, don't worry. That means you're learning, but it's overall a great experience.
Wonderful, thank you. And is there anything else that you would like to add about what you've learned or what it's been like working in tech, specifically working in tech as, somebody that is a woman and working in tech in spaces that women aren't always represented?
Oh yeah, totally. I think just no, like don't be nervous when talking to like professionals, especially if you're young or even if you don't feel like you have that much experience. I think as long as you're curious and you come across as genuine, they'll be willing to help you, and on top of that, they'll appreciate your initiative for coming up to them and being interested in what they're doing.
Cool, thank you so much, Isabel. And then quick question about your internship. Is your internship paid or does it count for college credit? Somebody in the chat is asking.
Yeah, it's a paid internship. It's remote as well, so they're actually based in Illinois.
Oh, wow.
But so I do it all online and I log my hours.
Very cool. Anything else you want to share? I know that you have to get back to your class, but is there anything else, any benefits from the program that you want to share, or any other last words?
These class, like before I took these classes, I was kind of just taking like free random online courses online on coding, and then I guess taking these classes just helped me learn about technologies that I probably would have never heard of, but are very useful. And it also, just as a student, it gave me kind of a taste of what the tech industry is like, since the professors are usually like, since they're teaching about the cloud, they probably know about everything that's going on.
Hey, wonderful. Wise words. I've seen you present on another webinar and I always feel so inspired by you. So thank you so much, Isabel. I know you have to get back to your class. Thank you for joining, and thank you for participating in this program. It was great to have you on this webinar.
All right, thank you so much for having me.
Bye.
Thank you, Isabel.
Thank you.
All right, and then I saw somebody asked about sharing the list of colleges that are currently offering the cloud computing program. So Naomi just above dropped the cloud one-pager where you can actually see the list of colleges, and then there's also the cloud website at californiacloudworkforce.com that you can check out the colleges that provide courses. Some of the colleges have multiple courses, some have only a couple of the courses. But again, this is a regional certificate, so students are actually able to take, a college at different, or a course at different colleges, and it would still count towards their certificate, which is the beauty of this regional collaboration. All right, thank you so much, Isabel. Now I will hand it over to Kim Irons, Centinela Valley Union High School District, and she's the K-12 Pathway Coordinator, and she's going to talk about the collaboration and the partnership and what it took to bring this cloud computing program dual enrollment course to Centinela Valley Union High School District. Take it away, Kim.
Thanks, Sherry. So with any program, when you're trying to kind of bridge the gap between a community college and a K-12, there's some groundwork that needs to be laid, mainly around kind of identifying the pathway and how it fits on both sides of the equation. So part of my role as the pathway coordinator was to bring the two sides together, so that way the K-12 could hear about the pathway from the college perspective, and then see how it best fit in with the K-12 model. So we started out at the district level and just kind of identifying which sites had either had a program that was similar or had the capacity or the will to bring in a new program. And so once the site was identified, then we met with site admin team, and we got to bring the El Camino staff. CODA was there in the meeting as well. And so the site admin, the El Camino team, and then some members of the district team kind of met and got to really flesh out the program, what was involved in the program, what the program was asking. And then they were able to identify capacity at the K-12 level. So did they have a place for this in their program? Did they feel like they had student interest? Did they feel like they had people that they could tap in to really support the building and the growth of the pathway? And so those are kind of some of the factors to consider is, do you have something to draw on? Does the pathway connect to something? So in Centinela Valley, all of this work was done pre-COVID. So things changed a little bit, but initially it was identified that one of the high schools which had a computer science pathway in the junior and senior level, that this might be a good fit because it didn't require the computer science skills and might be a great way to bring interest and bring about more enrollment into the computer sciences through this nice kind of gateway entry point. And so that high school, after meeting with El Camino and the faculty, was able to say, you know, we feel like this would be a good match, and we have capacity at the high school, both space, technology-wise, student interest, and staffing capacity to really go forward with moving this pathway and starting this project. And so that was where it began. From there, it then moved into the scheduling and kind of those other pieces. So when it comes to dual enrollment and student equity, the best practice is always to try to put it into the core day, because that's where you're going to see the best results for equity. You're going to have it as part of the student's schedule. They're more supported because it's part of their core day. They have nowhere else to go, nothing else to do during that period. So you kind of have their captured attention, which is where we find the best results. So that is best practice and always the goal. We found that because of the COVID situation and the changes, we weren't able to put it into the core day. The high school actually was reducing the number of courses that they were offering during the day to accommodate the distance learning because of the COVID switch to online. And so offering additional electives wasn't an option. So in this case, the AWS pathway was shifted to an after-school pathway, which had kind of, it was a double-edged, right? We lost it during the core day, which is of course best practice and where we want it, but then it opened it up to the entire district, which was kind of a cool benefit, was that now instead of just being located at one high school, because it was online and it was moving to after school, it meant that all students in the district would be able to take this course. And so kind of the cool side effect was we actually now have students at all 4 of the high schools in the district, including the continuation school, are enrolled in this pathway after school. So although it wasn't best practice, it ended up being kind of a cool opportunity for our students for this semester. So the other thing around this is that we really saw this pathway as an opportunity to open the tech world to a group of students who maybe wouldn't have considered the tech industry previously. Students who generally select into the computer science pathway are already interested in that. They maybe have a background in that, or they've had people along the way that have directed them towards that pathway. with the AWS, we saw it as a really nice gateway to help increase the number of students who might be interested in tech, but maybe didn't have that initial nudge that other students might have gotten. So that was another piece to kind of the equity and the dual enrollment side, was that we saw this as an opportunity to open up the tech industry to a broader array of students. For the challenges with dual enrollment, as we said, we were planning all of this pre-COVID. Coronavirus definitely threw a wrench in this, in that with dual enrollment, Centinela Valley generally has a very hands-on approach for helping students through the registration process. When everything is shifted to online, the hands-on approach changes in that we don't get to see our students face-to-face. It's a lot more challenging to pull students together for a meeting. We no longer can just have lunchtime meetings on their campus where the students are a more captive audience. We now have to do things virtually, online, where students have more options to not attend. So we did see decline enrollment from what we normally have, especially for our new pathway, just because of the circumstances around the online platform of trying to get everybody registered when we don't have an opportunity to follow up with them face-to-face. We didn't have anyone that could go and find them from a classroom and say, hey, you're missing a signature off of this form, right? Everything's done through emails and online, which is a slower and a little more painstaking process. And we also had a very short registration period because our students only returned to school 1 week before the registration deadline for the online course. That meant we only had 1 week to get them to complete the online application, to complete all of their forms, and to get them registered for the class. So those are some of the challenges that we faced. A lot of them may not have been as significant if we weren't also dealing with the shift and the uncertainty around the coronavirus and distance learning situation. And then one of the biggest lessons learned in terms of recruiting students, especially when it's a new pathway and you don't have student word of mouth, it's to use the teachers and the staff members who are already connected to the students to facilitate that recruitment process. So the more you can get the word out to the adults about what the program is, what the benefits are, and who the students are that might benefit from it or who might be a good fit, and then let those adults kind of go out and assist in the recruiting through that personal recruitment measure. So reaching out to students individually and saying, hey, there's this program, I don't know if you've heard about it, I think you would be great at this, is really kind of how we were able to get this initial cohort of students. Again, because we didn't have access to them over the summer. So taking that personal approach when something is new and you don't have students word of mouth to then recruit their friends, right? The peer recruitment is always the best mechanism we found, is that once something is successful with one group of students, it kind of takes off from there. But getting that first group of students really relies on tapping into the people who have that direct access to students and can kind of drum up the support one-on-one with students. So that's it, Sherry, that's it for me.
All right, thank you so much, Kim. And if you have any questions, please feel free to drop it in the chat and then we'll direct it towards Kim. All right, so now I am going to hand it over to Dr. Colleen Maldonado, and she's K-14 Career Education Pathways Coordinator at El Camino College, and she has also been really critical in initiating a lot of these partnership discussions and being able to provide this program in partnership with Centinela Valley. So Dr. Colleen Maldonado, I will pass it over to you now.
Thanks, Sherry. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about the cloud computing pathway. At El Camino, we have 5 career pathways, And we started about 2 years ago with just one in our engineering career pathway that we have at 9 schools. And so that was our big thing that had taken years and years to develop up to that level. So when we looked at developing new pathways, it's like, what do we need to get into place? What's the process? One of the things I've learned over the time that I've been there is to have a really clear process for identifying the pathway that you're interested in doing, and then the process of trying to develop it. So to be honest, typically for a pathway, you're really looking at a major commitment on the part of the college and the school, because as opposed to a single dual enrollment class, we're talking about cloud computing has 4 classes. That's 2 years for a high school student to commit to from 11th and 12th grade. Now, the great thing about it is that our pathways lead to a college certificate. So whenever possible, in this case, we have a certificate of accomplishment. They can take a single class each semester, and by their high school graduation, they can get that certificate in AWS cloud computing. And we try to stack those on. So there's a certificate of achievement. Well, you've already done 4 classes. Guess what? All you need is another class that's here to get to the certificate and onward. So it's an incredible model, but it takes time to try to develop. In this case with cloud computing, we really, this really helped having a consortium and a regional approach. I have learned that you really need to, one, Kim and I work really closely together. We also work with our director of dual enrollment with the schools. And one of the questions that, you know, we ask our schools is, what are your priority areas in terms of career pathways? You know, what are those areas of interest? So that we kind of have an idea of what academies do they already have, which ones are they interested in developing, because not everything works out, right? We're trying to almost make the stars align. You know, the second step for us is to look at the labor market data. So not to pick a pathway based on popularity and just that we know we can get a lot of students into this, but what's going on in your region? So we use like the centers of excellence and some of our economic development resources in our area to identify what's a big need. Well, in cloud computing, that was obvious. There is a huge number of jobs. There were few colleges that were producing graduates because this was so new and on the edge. And so for young students to get into this right on the ground floor, I mean, the opportunity was immense. But the challenge was to get it up and going and kind of create that pipeline for students. On the college end, for me, when developing a new pathway, what I've learned is start with your dean. Okay, you got to go slow to go fast. This often takes about a year to get up and going between all the meetings and things. So once I know the labor market, the demand, whether or not this is an area where there's we need more people to go into it. The schools, what do they have already? Like Kim said, do they already have academies that we could connect to? You know, my next step is the dean at every step of the way in there, because a career pathway for the college is a commitment ongoing. You know, we run these as cohorts. So it's not a 1 semester or even a 1 year commitment. We're starting with a new cohort for cloud computing this fall. Those students will continue on, and hopefully next semester we'll start a second cohort, and they'll run like that. So the dean has a lot of decisions to make about, do they have capacity and the ability to sustain this, especially with access to faculty. I mean, there are some pathways that I would love to see us get up and going, but does the college have faculty available? Like, or are they already struggling to find faculty for our college classes? Then maybe dual enrollment, adding this pathway is just not going to be doable because there's not faculty to teach those classes. So again, it's trying to find all these pieces and make it, all the stars align and get them in process, and then to find the faculty champions. So Dean can direct me to faculty and set that up. But I need to find the faculty who are excited and enthusiastic. So in the case of cloud, Kai Lu and Koda coming on for us was huge. I mean, I've got the most enthusiastic faculty. They're really committed to this, and because they're part of a regional consortium, our faculty are getting a lot of support and professional development on the outside. So for my end, this was a much easier pathway to get up and going because there was regional support for it, and it wasn't just starting from scratch. And even the industry involvement, the regional consortium is able to kind of help do that piece of it, whereas in another pathway, we're trying to do that ourselves and develop that. Kim was right. This semester was a real challenge. Typically, we would have done registration and recruitment in the spring for fall, right? So dual enrollment registration for all the dual enrollment practitioners out there is already really challenging. And typically at El Camino, it's a piece of paper, right? So it goes through a lot of hands, and students, we'd sit them down in a classroom, get them all registered, and do it well in advance. This semester, that was not possible. So we had the additional challenge in that it's an online course based in Canvas. If a student isn't registered, we don't have time to wait to get them registered as we've done in the past sometimes, because that student can't access Canvas unless they're registered. So we literally truly had like 2 weeks to get all of the students enrolled. And for El Camino, that was almost 500 students in addition to the cloud computing pathway. So it was a real effort. We used this semester, we kind of created kind of an intermediate step, and then our hope is to have a fully online dual enrollment form for the spring. And so we are using FormStack to do that. And it was, on my end, it was great. I have access, the dual enrollment office also had access. It wasn't a pile of paper on somebody's desk. We could see where it was in the workflow, so we could find out which students' paperwork had already been processed, and we could go back and see if there was a problem. We would know exactly what the problem was. But it was a real challenge on K-12 because this was a whole new thing. A lot of students didn't even understand, oh, I have to upload a PDF. How do I do that? How am I going to sign this? Can I take a picture of it with my phone? So there was a lot of just the challenge of getting registration. But spring, I think it's going to be great. It'll still be a challenge, but I love the idea of having a fully online form that with electronic signatures and such. So I know I'm looking forward to that. In terms of challenges, because it's a cohort and it is over time, we really needed to think about retention and supporting students to get all the way through the pathway. So not just, that they're taking an elective class or anything like that. And so building community with students, suddenly realized that this is a really important piece of this, that these students need to feel like they're, part of a group. And then now, how am I going to do that online? How do I build community now where I'm not bringing them to campus, or I'm not able to go out to there? I can't take them on field trips to see businesses and industry and some of the other things we did to excite students in the past in person. I had to look at how am I going to continue to keep them engaged in an online environment. So one of the things we're doing is looking at hiring a student success coach to work with our career pathway students so that there's a peer there, because I'm a big believer in college students. I mean, I love interacting with students, but I know that they get really excited when they're talking to college students. So we'll be bringing in a student to help join me and do weekly Google Meets to communicate with the students. That was key last spring, we found. Our students are really overwhelmed. I don't need to tell anybody that they're dealing with challenges that are almost incredible in some cases and everything. And one of the things that we saw last spring was just communication being just key for our students to stay and persist. and not just give up and be overwhelmed by it. And even though this semester, you know, we got through that spring, but they still need a much higher level of communication and support. So I'm focused on how do I build the community for students, keep them engaged out of the classroom. I'm realizing how important that messaging, if it's text messages, if it's a weekly phone call, hey, how are you doing? Is there anything going on I can help you with? The Friday Google Meets. You know, I plan to use my student success coach to help with a lot of this. Students were really grateful last spring. Absolute, I thought, oh, well, they'll just love text, but actually the phone calls were really, ended up being really important and stuff like that. It was just them knowing, hey, you can do this. You can do this, and we're going to be here for you. We're going to support you in this. You know, there is all the support here for you. You can handle this. I know you can do this. I know you got a lot on your plate, but we believe in you and we care about your success. Right now, I think those are like the most important messages, so that connection with your students is going to be key to keeping them engaged and enrolled. And without that, I think we're going to lose a lot of students because they are really sometimes feeling just buried by the amount of responsibilities and their high school classes and just the load that they're taking. And so I think they need extra reassurance and an extra level of knowing that there's somebody who cares. So making that little bit of extra. So I think having a student success coach as a college student is going to help us to build that community, or help me with that. And I think I really need to think careful about student support services for our students. And, you know, they're dual enrollment students, which means they're El Camino students, and they have access to all of our resources. So being able to make sure that they're taking advantage of those and that we're connecting them to everything that the college has to offer to support them. I think that will be the difference between students staying enrolled and persisting, especially in a career pathway that's over a 2-year period, and having students who take a class and then, you know, get some college credit but then drop out just because of the challenges that they're facing. So I would just encourage you. It doesn't matter if it's text messages, phone calls, you know, some kind of group that you set up or anything. Those little extras are going to make a big difference in this environment. So that's it. You know, student communication as far as lessons learned. Also, go slow to go fast. Do your homework. Involve your dean at every step of the way, and really think about capacity and sustainability. If you're going to create a pathway that's over time, you need to know that you're going to have faculty to teach those classes ongoing, and that you have a high level of support within the division, the dean and faculty in there, so that this just continues to go on. Like we're having with our other pathways. So we're excited about this. And I mean, cloud computing was a very easy lift because there was a much bigger community of support with the consortium for us. So thanks, Sherry.
Thank you so much, Colleen. I am so grateful for you and kind of the leadership that you took on this. As being part of the project team for the cloud computing, we made presentations and spoke to career pathway specialists, and Colleen really kind of took this and initiated a lot of the conversation. So thank you so much for doing that. And so if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them. We have some time for questions, but I do want to say just kind of wrapping it up, just because this project is so near and dear to my heart, and I really truly believe in the power of being able to provide these opportunities for students and close some of the digital skills gap that we're seeing and the equity issues that we see in tech. I just am grateful that there's folks on here that are willing to kind of provide these opportunities for students. And as folks said, this is very introductory to tech, so this can for a lot of students that may see tech as kind of a white elitist field, this can kind of start to break down some of those, some of that narrative maybe that is out there around tech. Cloud computing is very tangible for students, and like Isabel said, it is very hands-on. And in order to be able to provide these access to opportunities, we really want to ensure that we're providing as early as possible. So thank you all for your great input and for all the information that you provided. Again, this is a regional certificate and it is a regional program, so there are 19 colleges involved in it. So if your college is involved in it and you're not sure how to connect, please feel free to reach out to myself or to look on that website. There's also contact information there, folks that you can reach out to, and they can kind of connect you to the right folks. Because this is an equity issue and we're really looking to be able to increase students' digital skills and get them good paying jobs at the end of the day. That's what we really want to do. It's a kind of way to get them, you know, into the workforce and being able to work and get paid for it. So thank you all for the work that you do for students. If you don't mind going to the next slide, this is El Camino's beautiful video that they did around cloud computing, if you want to check it out. If you search AWS cloud computing, there's a 2-minute video that has what cloud computing is in a very animated way. So if you want to be able to share that with folks, with students, you feel free to use that. It's a very great video that shows what cloud computing is. That's very digestible. So if you don't mind playing the video of El Camino's cloud computing program.
On my phone or computer. I've always been interested in technology and how it works. Whenever I've been on my phone or computer, I was always curious about what makes this technology possible. Taking the cloud computing class at El Camino gave me the insight I was looking for. The class introduced me to Amazon Web Services, which really opened my eyes to the possibilities and career opportunities available within cloud computing. Now, I know what it takes to build an audience on my channel, how to hack smart devices, and most importantly, advance in a career with my cloud computing skills.
We are committed to providing students with the opportunity to gain career-boosting skills. That's why we partnered with Amazon Web Services to work on a cloud computing certificate. Students will learn how to stream media to any size audience across the web using AWS. They'll also learn how to build systems that can handle tomorrow's demanding applications like self-driving vehicle systems, machine learning, and more. Students don't only have the opportunity to learn about engaging and exciting ideas, but they'll be able to build them too. Take your skills to the next level with a cloud computing class powered by AWS at El Camino College.
Yay, beautiful. Thank you so much. All right, so that brings us to the end of our college and high school partnership presenters. We do want to just point out to folks, if you can pull up the slide, I know Adar's pulling it up. Our next webinar that is coming up is in November, and it will be focused on adult dual enrollment, so please be on the lookout for that announcement. Again, we have our resources that Naomi was dropping in the chat around onboarding and moving to the electronic form that you can check out via CLP's website. And yeah, we are grateful for you all and the work that you do for students. If you have any questions or if you have any success stories, yes, we will send the link to that video. We'll also send all the resources, everything together. But if you have any questions or any success stories, please feel free to email Naomi at ncastro or myself. She also put my email in the chat. But thank you all. Thank you for attending another Zoom. I know folks have Zoom fatigue, but we appreciate you for being here. We appreciate you for the work that you do for students. And thank you. Thank you for attending. We'll see you next time. Bye.